I don't want to take care of Grandma, and I don't even want to see her face. Why don't you do it, Anna? My sister-in-law said with a sly grin. She probably thought that if she could take over the house, she wouldn't have to worry about Grandma anymore. My brother stood next to her, smirking. He glanced at me, and then at Grandma. It was clear that Grandma wouldn't find peace in such a tense and hostile environment. It's okay, Grandma. I'm here for you, I said with confidence. My name is Betty, and I just turned 55. Life has slowed down for me now, and I'm enjoying it with my husband, Scott. Our 3 children are grown up and following their own dreams. The days when I used to balance work and family while they were little feel like a distant but sweet memory. These days, my life is simple. I focus on my work, spend time with Scott, and make sure Grandma feels loved and cared for. My husband and I run a traditional restaurant that's well known in our town. I manage the business side of things, while Scott, who is an amazing chef, handles the cooking. It's a good partnership that works well for us. I chose this path because I studied business in college and became fascinated with restaurant management. At first, I thought I wanted to cook for our customers, but life had other plans. While in college, I took a job in the kitchen of a fancy hotel near campus. However, I quickly realized cooking wasn't my strong point. A senior coworker once told me, "You can't even peel vegetables properly." I was embarrassed, and they moved me to serving instead. At the time, it felt like a failure, but now it's something I laugh about. It's a funny memory we like to joke about when talking about my early career struggles. Whenever I face challenges, I always turn to my grandma. She has been my rock through the ups and downs of life. Grandma listens patiently, waiting until I finish talking. Then, she looks at me with her kind eyes and says, "Betty, I know you have big dreams and hopes, but life isn't a straight road. Sometimes there are twists and turns, and those experiences help you grow. Take your time and stay strong." Her words are like a warm hug. They make me feel better every time I'm struggling. I always thank her for being there for me. She reminds me that no matter how small the steps I take, as long as I keep moving forward, I'm making progress. Grandma's wisdom has taught me to face life with courage and patience, and I'm forever grateful for her guidance. Now, I'm determined to make sure Grandma is surrounded by love and peace. I will always stand by her side, no matter what challenges come our way. My grandmother always guided me with her gentle encouragement. After losing my parents at a young age, she became my greatest source of comfort and the most precious person in my life. She was my rock during difficult times, always pushing me to believe in myself even when I doubted my abilities. Amidst all of this, I met my husband, Scott. At the time, I was working part-time at a hotel while trying to figure out my path in life. Scott was a chef at the same hotel, someone who had spent years mastering the art of cooking. One day, knowing about my interest in cooking, he came up to me and said, "I'm still learning too, but if you're interested, I can teach you what I know." I was thrilled by his offer and immediately said yes. From that day on, we started learning together. We began with the basics, cooking at each other's homes when the hotel kitchen was too busy. These home sessions became our own little cooking classes, where we experimented, learned, and laughed together. As we spent more time stirring pots and chopping vegetables side by side, our relationship grew deeper. It wasn't long before we started dating seriously, and after a few years, we decided to get married. After our marriage, Scott continued to work as a chef at the hotel, following his passion for creating amazing food. Meanwhile, I joined a startup company that managed several restaurants. My goal was to learn how to manage a business practically, beyond what I had studied at university. The reality of running a business was much tougher than the theories I had learned, but I didn't give up. Over time, I got better at it, gaining confidence and skills along the way. Eventually, with the support of my company, Scott and I were given the chance to run our dream restaurant, an upscale place focusing on traditional cuisine. I became the manager, overseeing the day-to-day operations, while Scott, having completed advanced training, took charge of the kitchen. He was excited for a new challenge and accepted the role enthusiastically. Together, we poured our hearts into building and growing the restaurant. However, my deep focus on work meant I spent less time with my beloved grandmother. She had moved in with my brother, Jerry. Jerry is a dedicated office worker, but his personality can be difficult to deal with at times. When I shared the exciting news about becoming a manager through my company's program, his reaction caught me off guard. "Wait, are you seriously taking such a big risk?" he asked with a skeptical look. "Wouldn't it be safer to stay in a regular job? And anyway, don't managers hired through programs like that earn less money?" His harsh words stung, but I knew deep down that this was the right path for me. Grandma had always told me to follow my dreams, even if the road wasn't easy. Her wisdom kept me grounded, reminding me to stay strong and trust in my choices. I tried to respond to my brother's harsh words, but he wouldn't back down. "Betty, listen to me," he said firmly. "Stability is the most important thing. Why do you always insist on doing whatever you want? It's not just you, your husband is the same. Do you even understand how hard it is to run a business? What will you do if you fail?" His words caught me off guard. Yes, running a business wasn't easy, but I knew we had the support of the company, so it wasn't entirely up to us. Before I could say anything, my sister-in-law, Anna, jumped in with a smug grin. "You two are very bold, aren't you?" she said. "But let me tell you, if things don't go well, don't come running to us for help." Her comment stung, but it also made me determined. I silently promised myself that no matter what happened, I would never rely on them for anything. My beloved grandmother, who had always been my greatest comfort, had somehow ended up with such a mean-spirited sister-in-law in her life. It all started when my brother and Anna moved into Grandma's house without warning. I found out during one of my visits. When I rang the doorbell, it was Anna who answered, looking surprised. "Oh, Betty, what are you doing here?" she asked. Her tone confused me. "Anna, why are you at Grandma's house?" I asked, equally surprised. Anna took a deep breath and smiled in a way that seemed forced. "Well," she said, "I'll let you in on a little secret. I've been taking care of Grandma lately. I wanted to spend more time with her, so we decided to move in." She sounded proud of herself, but I was caught off guard. I realized that with the new restaurant and everything else going on in my life, I had been too busy to notice this big change. Work had kept me away from Grandma, and I felt a pang of guilt for not being there for her as much as I wanted. "Thank you, Anna," I said politely. "It's a big help to know Grandma has someone around." Even though I said those words, a deep sadness filled my heart. I missed spending time with Grandma. Whenever I visited her after that, Anna always greeted me with sarcastic remarks. "Oh, Betty, you're here again? Don't you think Grandma's a little too busy for visitors right now?" "But, of course, this is Grandma's house," she'd say with a smirk. I'd smile politely and reply, "I just wanted to chat with Grandma." Visiting Grandma every weekend had always been my joy. She welcomed me with warmth and love, but lately, she seemed quieter and less energetic. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but deep down, I worried something wasn't right. One day, my fears became real, and everything changed. One day, I went to visit Grandma at her house. I knocked on her door, but there was no answer. Feeling worried, I gently opened the door and called out, "Grandma?" As I stepped inside, I saw her lying on the floor near the entrance. She had collapsed. My heart raced, and I rushed to her side. "Grandma, are you okay?" I shouted, my voice shaking. I knew I had to act fast. I grabbed my phone and called for an ambulance right away. While we waited, I held her hand and tried to keep her awake. "Hang in there, Grandma. Help is on the way," I whispered. The ambulance arrived quickly, and the paramedics began to take care of her. I went with them to the hospital, not leaving her side for a moment. At the hospital, time seemed to slow down. Before I knew it, night had fallen. I sat in the waiting room, feeling scared and alone. After what felt like hours, a doctor came out to speak with me. He had a serious look on his face. "Are you Betty?" he asked gently. I nodded, my heart pounding. He took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but your grandmother doesn't have much time left." His words hit me hard. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The doctor explained that Grandma had been very sick for a while. Her condition is serious, and there's nothing more we can do here at the hospital, he said. It might be best for her to spend her remaining time at home, where she's comfortable. I was shocked. I didn't know Grandma was so ill. Why didn't she tell me? I thought to myself. Just then, a nurse came over and told me that Grandma was awake and wanted to see me. I wiped my tears and hurried to her room. When I walked in, Grandma was lying in the bed, looking tired but peaceful. She gave me a small, weak smile. "Betty, dear, I'm sorry for giving you a scare," she said softly. I went over and held her hand. "Grandma, why didn't you tell me you were sick?" I asked, trying not to cry. She looked at me with loving eyes. "I didn't want to worry you, sweetheart. You've been so busy with your life and work," she replied. I felt a lump in my throat. "But Grandma, you should have told me. I want to be here for you," I said. In that moment, I realized how strong and caring Grandma was. Even when she was so sick, she was thinking of others. I decided that I wanted to make the most of the time we had left together. "Grandma, maybe we should let everyone know about your illness," I suggested gently. She seemed a bit surprised but nodded slowly. "If you think that's best," she agreed. I hoped that by telling my brother and his wife, Anna, they would come and spend time with Grandma too. A few days later, Grandma was allowed to go home. It wasn't because she was better, but because there was nothing more the doctors could do. They thought she would be more comfortable at home. When we arrived at her house, we found my brother and Anna relaxing in the living room. They looked happy and carefree. Anna looked up and smiled brightly. "Oh, there you are. Where have you been?" "It's been so relaxing here while Grandma was away," she said cheerfully. My brother laughed and added, "Yeah, it's been nice to have some peace and quiet without Grandma around." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could they be so uncaring? Didn't they know how sick Grandma was? I felt anger rising inside me, but I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Grandma is very ill," I said firmly. "She doesn't have much time left." Anna's smile faded a little, but she simply shrugged. "Well, that's too bad," she said casually. My brother didn't say anything. I realized then that they didn't care at all. I decided that I would take care of Grandma myself. "Come on, Grandma. Let's get you settled in your room," I said gently. She nodded, and I helped her upstairs. Over the next few days, I spent as much time with her as possible. We talked about happy memories, looked at old photos, and I cooked her favorite meals. She seemed content, and I was glad to see her smile. Meanwhile, my brother and Anna kept to themselves. They didn't offer to help or spend time with Grandma. It hurt me to see how little they cared, but I focused on making Grandma's days filled with love and comfort. One evening, as we sat together, Grandma took my hand. "Thank you for being here with me, Betty," she said softly. "You have always been such a loving granddaughter." I smiled at her. "I love you, Grandma," I replied. "I'm grateful for all the love and wisdom you've given me." She looked into my eyes and said, "Remember to always be kind and care for others, even when it's hard. That's what truly matters in life." I nodded, taking her words to heart. Even in her final days, she was teaching me valuable lessons. Sadly, not long after, Grandma passed away peacefully in her sleep. I was heartbroken, but I took comfort in knowing that I had been there for her. I had made her last days full of love and care. At the funeral, my brother and Anna showed up, but they seemed distant. I realized that some people might never change. But I knew that I had done the right thing by Grandma. She had been there for me my whole life, and I was glad I could be there for her when she needed me most. From that day on, I promised myself to live by Grandma's words. I would be kind, caring, and always make time for the people I love. Life is short, and it's important to cherish every moment. I was shocked by what my brother and Anna said. It was clear that Grandma was very sick, and their careless words hurt deeply. Trying to keep my emotions under control, I said firmly, "Stop making jokes. Grandma's condition is very serious. The hospital can't do anything more for her." My brother looked at me with disbelief. "You're joking, right?" he asked, as if he couldn't believe what I was saying. Anna, on the other hand, shrugged and dismissed my words as if they didn't matter. Taking a deep breath, I explained again. It's true. If you don't believe me, you can ask Grandma's doctor yourself. Grandma, who had been sitting quietly, finally spoke in a weak voice. It's true. I don't have much time left, she said softly. There's not much anyone can do now. Anna's eyes widened in surprise. She looked panicked. Wait a minute, she said quickly. I didn't sign up to be a caregiver. I'm just living here to save on rent. I can't take on such a big responsibility. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her selfishness left me speechless. I glanced at Grandma, who looked deeply hurt. Her eyes filled with sadness, and she whispered to herself, "So, I'm just a burden now." Hearing those words broke my heart. It was clear that Anna and my brother only cared about their own comfort, not about Grandma's feelings. I took Grandma's hand and squeezed it gently. It's okay, Grandma, I said softly. I'm here for you. This is your house, and your well-being comes first. I turned to Anna and said firmly, if you're not willing to help, then please don't make things harder. Grandma deserves respect and care. But Anna didn't seem to care. She crossed her arms and replied, I'm sorry, Betty, though it was clear she wasn't truly sorry. Her words were empty, and her face showed no regret. Grandma wiped away her tears and looked at me with an apologetic smile. I'm sorry for all of this, she said, her voice trembling. I felt an overwhelming urge to protect her. She didn't deserve to be treated this way, especially in her condition. Anna, growing more annoyed, snapped, Can you just leave? Honestly, you guys are a distraction. Don't come asking for help later, because I won't be there to assist. Just thinking about Grandma is exhausting. My brother chimed in, adding to the hurt. Seriously, don't try to push this responsibility onto us. We didn't ask for this, he said coldly, glancing at Grandma with irritation. Their words made it clear that they wanted to get rid of Grandma because she was an inconvenience to them. Their attitude filled me with sadness and anger. How could they be so heartless? Grandma's voice trembled as she finally said, We won't rely on either of you anymore. If anything happens, don't expect us to reach out. Our family ties end here. Her eyes were misty with tears, but her voice was filled with quiet strength. In that moment, I knew I would do everything in my power to protect and care for Grandma. Even if my brother and Anna turned their backs on us, I would never abandon her. She had always been there for me, and now it was my turn to be there for her. I won't come back to this house anymore. Goodbye, I said firmly as I turned to leave. My brother smirked, crossing his arms. Great. Even if Betty ends up in trouble somewhere, it won't be our problem, he said coldly. Anna waved her hand dismissively and added, Good luck with Grandma. She's all yours now. Her tone was indifferent, as if she couldn't care less. Without looking back, Grandma and I left the house. I decided then and there to bring her to live with me. We got into a taxi, and as we approached my home, Grandma's eyes widened with surprise. Oh my, what a magnificent house, she exclaimed, clearly impressed. Our home was indeed much larger and more modern than the small, outdated house where Grandma had been living. It was a testament to the hard work my husband Scott and I had put into our careers. The company we worked for was unique. In addition to our regular salaries, we earned bonuses based on the restaurant's revenue. This system motivated employees and gave us a stable and comfortable lifestyle. As I helped Grandma out of the taxi, the front door of our house opened, and Scott greeted us with his usual warm smile. Welcome home. I've been waiting for you, he said cheerfully. I had texted him earlier to let him know Grandma would be coming to live with us, and he had prepared tea and snacks for her arrival. Grandma's face lit up when she saw Scott. It's so nice to see you again, Scott, she said warmly. He welcomed her into the house, and I led her to the living room. We sat down, and I served her the comforting tea Scott had made. Grandma sipped it slowly, looking visibly relaxed for the first time in a long while. This place feels like somewhere I can truly be comfortable, she said with a deep sigh. At the other house, I always felt like I was in the way. Her words were tinged with sadness, and I could sense the pain she had endured from the cold treatment by Anna and my brother. Later, as we unpacked Grandma's belongings, I learned something shocking. Anna had been secretly taking Grandma's pension money without permission. Could Anna really do such a thing? I muttered, feeling a wave of anger. Scott, equally stunned, shook his head. That's unacceptable. We can't let them get away with this, he said with determination. I nodded in agreement. You're right. Let's take action. A few days later, my phone buzzed with several calls from my brother. After ignoring a few, I finally answered. On the other end, Anna's angry voice exploded. What did you do? Grandma's house is being taken away from us. Feigning innocence, I replied calmly, I don't know what you're talking about. Anna's frustration was obvious. Why would she suddenly kick us out? Did you and Scott plan this? I couldn't help but smile to myself. No, we didn't do anything, I said smoothly, leaving her to stew in her own guilt. Grandma was finally safe, and that was all that mattered to me. I spoke calmly to Anna, trying to keep things simple. Grandma decided to sell the house because it was always in her name. We were just as surprised as you, but she wanted a fresh start. The sale has already been completed, and there's a new owner now. If you stay there any longer, it could cause problems. Anna's voice was a mix of shock and frustration. Do you think Grandma really understands what's happening? Did you offer her some kind of sweet deal to convince her? No, we didn't do anything like that, I said firmly. Grandma just wanted to move on. Scott helped her contact a real estate agent, and she made the decision herself. She didn't want to deal with you and Jerry anymore. As I spoke, I felt a sense of relief. It was time for Grandma to find peace and for us to leave the past behind. This is a chance for all of us to start fresh, I added, keeping my tone positive. It's time to build our lives separately. Ignoring Anna's growing frustration, I stayed focused on the bigger picture. Where are we supposed to live now? Our old flat is gone. Anna snapped, her voice rising with anger. From what Grandma had told me, Anna had a habit of spending money recklessly. She loved shopping, showing off expensive designer bags, and visiting beauty spas almost every week. My brother, on the other hand, didn't earn much. With their debts piling up, their financial situation must have been pretty tough. That's likely why they moved into Grandma's house, to save money. Despite their struggles, my brother seemed completely smitten with Anna's looks and likely indulged her every whim. I wasn't particularly worried about their living situation, so I decided to be lighthearted. Why not stay in a motel for a while? I suggested playfully. Although, that might be hard if you're short on money. Anna paused, clearly offended. Why are you talking about our finances? She asked sharply. I didn't get a reply from my brother, but I knew my words had struck a nerve. Just then, Grandma took the phone. With a warm smile, she said, Actually, I told Betty everything. And by the way, Betty's house is wonderful. It's big, modern, and very comfortable. It's nothing like what you're used to. Her tone was gentle but carried a hint of pride. When my brother got back on the phone, he sounded curious. Wait, why are you guys so well off? I thought you were struggling financially. It might surprise you, I replied with a small laugh, but Scott and I earn more than you think. On top of our regular salaries, we get substantial bonuses. We probably earn about twice what you make in a month. We work hard, and we've built a comfortable life for ourselves. He was silent for a moment, clearly shocked. Seriously? He asked. Yes, I confirmed. You always said full-time employment is the safest route, but maybe it's time you broaden your thinking. We've done pretty well with our choices, don't you think? I added with a hint of pride. For once, he had no comeback, and I felt a small victory knowing we were finally moving forward. I told them clearly, you need to figure things out on your own without relying on us. Then, to my surprise, Anna spoke in a sweet tone and made a request. Hey, Betty, could we visit your place? Just your brother and me. Even if it's just for a short time. I was shocked by her boldness. No, I said firmly. I've already told you we're done. You need to handle things on your own. After that, they kept calling me multiple times, but I didn't answer. I had nothing more to say to them and decided to move on with my life. They were no longer part of it. Not long after, I received shocking news. My brother and Anna had been arrested for shoplifting from a small store. When the police contacted me, I learned about Anna's massive debts, which were far more than my brother's salary could cover. She had even been secretly taking money from Grandma's pension. Debt collectors had gone to my brother's workplace, which forced him to quit his job. Things had gone downhill quickly for them. They had become so desperate that they were stealing donuts and sandwiches just to eat. The police told me that during their arrest, both my brother and Anna had asked them to contact me. My brother had said, "I know we've made mistakes, but please help us." Anna, in tears, had begged, "Forget what we've done in the past. Just help us this one time." Even after hearing their pleas, I couldn't bring myself to forgive them. Their reckless spending and the way they treated Grandma had led to this mess. They were now facing the consequences of their actions. It wasn't my responsibility to fix it for them. Months have passed since then, and my feelings haven't changed. I don't dwell on them anymore. Instead, I focus on Grandma, who is still lively and enjoying life. Seeing her happy brings me so much comfort. I've even taken some time off work to spend more moments with her, and I'm grateful that my workplace is supportive during times like this. Although Grandma sometimes feels unwell, we find joy in small things. We love taking walks in the garden and talking about the flowers we see. These moments are so precious to me. One day, I asked her, "Grandma, your birthday is coming up. Is there anything special you'd like to eat?" With a warm smile, she replied, "I'd love a sandwich made by you." Her simple request touched my heart. I know my cooking isn't great, but it's her way of showing love. There are still so many things I want to do with her, places to visit, foods to taste, and stories to share. I cherish every moment we spend together and try my best to make her smile. While she's feeling good, I want to give her all the love and happiness she deserves.